somewhere.
Keep going. Okay. Hi, Scott.
How's it going?
Pretty good. It's going.
Let's see here. Oh yeah, that works. I'm gonna try to put you in my ear.
Oh, you don't want to do that.
Oh, you're gonna get that loud. Now let's see what happens. Can you still hear me okay?
Yep,
Yes.
I can hear you. Yeah, they can look. Hey, you're answering.
Ah,
I'm not
good.
doing this. I'm answering nothing. I'm away from it now.
How about I'll do the underlighting so it looks all evil.
You do look evil. Look at you.
I was he's gonna tell us about the dog.
Well, it goes through the beard, though.
Okay, let's see here. I still don't see you guys, so I'm not sure what's going on there. Ooh, I found the volume. There we go. Now I can hear you really good.
Are you sure?
Yeah,
Can you see him?
I can hear you. How are you guys doing this morning?
Good. How are you? Tired.
Good.
Tired.
Tired? Yeah, I know that feeling. Seems like I'm always tired.
Can you see them yet?
Nope, can't see you guys.
Don, can you make it
What
bigger?
I had to do is push the little
Can
camera
you make
button at
the
the
camera
bottom.
bigger?
Like what, the picture?
Yeah.
Oh, you can.
Because
Well, you guys start talking to Scott a while he's trying to see
Yeah.
these guys.
The webcam on, she's going.
if you can, I don't know.
So, I guess, let's see, what are you guys doing this morning? Y'all just getting up, getting started, kind of hanging out and getting woken up?
Yeah, it's just
Yes.
our first day, so we're just getting started.
Ah, there you go. Oh,
Oh, you have
wait
to
a
go down
minute.
the
I
corner.
see you.
There you go.
Guess what? I see you.
Yay!
All right, let me turn my screen brightness up. Stand by.
Is it enough light?
Okay. Hey, now I can see you.
Do you have enough light, Scott?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I can-
Okay,
I can
then you're
see,
good.
let's see, I can see everybody, yeah. Am I straight, or do I need to turn my camera sideways?
You're good. You're
Yeah,
good.
there's pens everywhere.
Good, all right, cool. So, good morning, guys. What do y'all want to know? I mean, how many people there, I guess y'all know me, or y'all seen me, or all that fun stuff? Seen the show? You watched Friday night show?
Yes. Yeah.
Did you? Did you like the Man-Check Swamp? Down there with the gators and all that fun
They're
stuff?
thrilled, don't they?
Yeah, cool. So, let's start out. Let's see, I'm kind of floating along here. We always start these off and keep them very informal, and I don't.
Yeah,
I
you
kinda
want to tell
don't
your names,
prepare
girls?
a speech or anything. But what do you guys want to know? We'll just start off conversation like that.
How about they introduce themselves to you, Scott?
That would be wonderful, so I know everybody's name.
Raise your hand and tell them who you are.
I'm Lizzie.
Lizzie, nice to meet you, Lizzie.
James.
Kiana.
James, nice to meet you. Oh, sorry, here's the next one. What's that?
Kiana.
Kiara?
Kiana.
Kiana. Okay, there we go. Nice to meet you.
Heavenly.
You say Heavenly?
Yeah.
Our heavenly
Nice
ghost.
to meet you.
Erica.
Nice to meet you, Erica.
Callie.
Callie, nice to meet you.
You're gonna see a lot of these kids at the Battlefield Bash. when you come in.
Oh, what? Wonderful. That'll be great. That's always a fun event. I can't wait to get up there.
Yep, they're gonna be working and doing community hours.
We're doing a kid zone.
Oh, really? Good
Yeah.
Kid Zone? That'll be really cool. My munchkin doesn't travel with me, so he doesn't do that stuff. I'm gonna keep him kind of out of the spotlight. So, what do you guys have questions about?
Well, ask some questions, girls and guys.
What's the best advice you could give us for as like teenage investigators?
You know, I get questions about people starting out investigating all the time, and you know, it's always interesting to listen to other people's comments, other investigators, what they have to say. You know, the main thing is to be grounded, and as an investigator, you know, you're out there and you're trying to sort through what is real, what's not, or what is natural to your environment. There's many times there's things that occur that we just can't explain, and those by definition are paranormal. They are the normal, just not yet understood. You know, then there's those things that are supernatural that we can't explain. Always stay grounded. For me, you know, I always pray before I go in. You know, I feel like we can't do anything without God's help, so I always put that first. And to make sure that I have that armor around me and that I have that relationship and it's solid. But, you know, as you go into and start investigating, you know, people will get caught up in these supernatural events, and those are interesting. You know, those are things that we can't explain while they happen. But dig into the history. You know, I've always thought that, you know, I always tell people that without history we don't have ghosts, without ghosts we don't have history. So always dig into the history. You know, people think history is boring. But if you start looking at it and thinking about how it would have been if you had been alive during that time, place yourself in that moment. You know, and think about that as you're collecting evidence or collecting the history, those little tokens, those pieces, and think about each little piece that you discover, because each artifact may lead to an interaction or a trigger for that interaction.
He's giving you ideas, girl.
I'm sorry?
They're supposed to be writing these things down.
Oh my gosh.
Ah.
You can make notes along the way. I can wait on you.
That's one of their rules.
I got you. I talk fast sometimes, so that's
No,
forgive
you're
me.
fine. That's just like one of the things that we teach them is to write things down so that they keep
Gotcha.
things in their heads.
I'll give you a lot of information too. The biggest thing about history that I learned in college was that you know, history is not just what's in the textbook. And I tell this to people all the time. You know, you can go out and you can read these textbooks, and what you're reading is one person's viewpoint or their collection of viewpoints of history that they want to share with you. So in order to get that complete picture, you know, the real deep stories lie in those personal experiences that have been handed down from one generation to the next. So if you can get boots on the ground, is what I like to call it, out walking and talking to people who lived in the area, who've experienced those things or who have heard those stories, you're going to get a clearer picture of what occurred in that location. You know, that's a big thing about building your research before you go in. One of the biggest things that I tell people too when doing investigations is that you know, when you watch what's on TV, you see a lot of things that involve flashy lights, BP meters, and numbers, and these different electronic evaluations. Those are all good and great, and they have their place, and they perform really well on TV. But the biggest problem that I have found with the paranormal world or the investigative, quasi-investigative world is that we've become constricted to our experiences by having these meters. And so we focus on the numerical value of the energy that's interacting. We focus on the light, whether it's a red, a green, a blue, or orange, or yellow, or whatever the case may be. and we rely upon that interaction or a flashlight turning on or off or whatever the case may be. And so we kind of start getting tunnel vision where we have all of this equipment in front of us and we're looking at it and we're watching the equipment waiting for it to go off, where we are missing the personal experience that really caused us to get into this. You know, you're sitting there and you're looking at a meter and you're seeing a number fluctuate, but you're missing the shadow figure or the full-bodied apparition that's standing right in front of you making it happen. And so the big thing is to be paying attention to your surroundings. I really think that there's a bigger movement that's coming where people are going to start getting away from this, because you know, as you can collect data, but if you never go back and compare your data and you repeat the test procedure over and over, then what good is your data? And so the big thing about doing this is those personal experiences. There's been many times where, had I been looking at a meter or looking at a device or waiting for a device to go off, I'm walking down the hallway. Those are the things that you share with people, but those don't prove that you had that. But don't ever let anybody tell you that you didn't have that experience, because just because they can't see it doesn't mean it didn't happen. And those kinds of experiences are the ones that will shape you and change you and make you continue to do this.
For Mike and his sisters.
Long answer, but a lot of information there. Also, don't be afraid to think outside the box. So many people get constrained to what is generally accepted in the community, and there is nothing wrong with being different. There is nothing wrong with going outside the norm, because that's where those major discoveries are found. People made fun of people like Thomas Edison and Einstein and those guys, because they were thinking outside the box and beyond what was generally accepted at the time. And that's where those discoveries occurred. People make fun of people that don't follow the general consensus, and it's just because they don't understand. And when they do make those discoveries, that's when it becomes great. So never be afraid to think outside the box and do something that's not like what everybody else is doing, because you never know what you're going to discover. Any other questions?
Yes. Ask questions. That's how about a show.
What's your favorite piece of equipment to use?
Favorite piece of equipment? There are so many things that are available to us. What I enjoy the most, I don't get to do it as much as I used to, but that's just holding a camera. A full spectrum camera or a deep infrared camera. Those are amazing, because not only can you catch audio, but you also catch video or still footage there, and document what's in front of you. The problem is that we start looking at the camera, not looking at what's out front to see in the dark. But also remember, you don't have to investigate just at night. Just because you see ghost shows that are paranormal TVs all shot at night, doesn't mean that that's the only time that you can have an interaction. These entities are around us all the time. It just so happens that for TV and for dramatic effect, they like to shoot at night. But as far as equipment goes, the camera is what I love. I love the audio recorders, because I can just lay it down in a room and have a conversation, which brings up a really good point. So many people in the paranormal world, when they go in to do an investigation, I like to call them interrogations, because when they go in, they interrogate. They're asking questions. How did you die? Do you know you're dead? What's your name? What's holding you here? What's this? What's that? And it's very abrasive, and it's very it's not open, it's not warm, it's not inviting, it's not an engaging conversation. What I have discovered is that some of the most phenomenal pieces of evidence that I have captured come when we are not posing questions that way. When we're just having a conversation, we're enjoying ourselves, communicating back and forth, just talking. So what I have started doing is when I do a personal investigation, I go in and just have a conversation. I introduce myself. just like you would if you were meeting someone for the first time or talking to them. I'll go in and say, hey, my name is Porter. I'm from Tennessee, and I just want to come and visit with you for a while. And then there's things that you may want to ask. Hey, my favorite color is black, blue, green, yellow, whatever. What's yours? And have that recorder going. Explain to them. Hey, this is I'm gonna put this recorder down here if you don't mind. It may help us communicate, and it will record my voice asking you the question, and you can use your energy to affect it and record your answer there. And then I'll be able to play it back and listen to it. So if you have those conversations like that, that seems to be the most productive for me in getting interactions. So many people want to go in and provoke and antagonize, and I see that happen on TV a lot. I know that I've had producers that have wanted me to do that as well, and that's just not my style. And I don't care for that. If you're going into a location, right off the bat, there's no need for that. I think that you just need to go in and have a conversation. And like I said, you can use those cameras, those video cameras, you can use those recorders to document everything that's going on and share that with other people. That way you have the opportunity to enjoy the personal experience and capture the evidence as well.
What else, girls?
How do you think that TV's affected other investigators?
Ooh, that is a good question.
That is a good question.
Oh, that is an excellent question.
I took
Did you come up with that on your
journalism.
own?
Coming from the blonde of the group.
I'm educated.
You're so
Hey,
pretty.
listen, that is an amazing question. And as a matter of fact, that is a question that I've had many debates over in the past couple of years.
I'm so proud of you.
I think paranormal TV, as it has evolved, has probably had a negative effect on the way that people investigate. The problem being is that, well, it's a deep answer. It's a very deep answer, and that is that you're dealing with networks, you're dealing with production companies that have to produce a television show, and we all know that in TV it's all about ratings. And so they have to find unique and different ways to engage people out there who are not genuinely interested in the science behind it or the discovery behind it, but more so want the shock factor or the scare factor. And so what they do is they try to engage people or get people who will be on these shows that will do whatever they ask. It's happened to us. We've had people ask us to do things, or I know me personally, I can't speak for everyone else on the team, but for me personally, I've had producers pull me aside and say, we really need a big interaction here, or we need something to happen, and it's like, I can't control that. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. That's just the nature of the beast. But if something does happen, you're going to get a genuine reaction out of me. You're going to get one that is real, because that's what it is. I think that over time TV has wanted to really put the BP meters and stuff out in the forefront and rely upon that to be the one piece of evidence that everybody is comfortable in relying upon, because our society wants hard evidence. And so, with that, I know that in some of the first cuts of our show, we had editors who didn't understand the equipment or didn't understand what's going on. And I know back in the very first season of Ghost Asylum, I think it was, we had an editor who went in and put a millimeter noise with a K2 meter, because they thought it needed to be more for dramatic effect. And so that was a big battle. Jump on the phone, call the network, or actually the production company, and tell them, that you can't put that out there, because that's not real. That's not how that device works. That's not how that device sounds. And people that know that are going to immediately see that that's not right, and then that's going to discredit everything else in the genre or everything else in the show. So those are always the fights and the battles that you have, and we still fight those to this day, but not to that level. So I think TV also gives you 42, 47 minutes, depending on what part of the world you're in, of an investigation. So you get to see in less than an hour what occurs over, sorry, I got a notification popped up. You're going to see what occurs, what occurs over the course of 4 days or 5 days of investigating in 42 minutes. So you're getting the highlights. So people that think, oh my gosh, I'm going to go out, I'm going to go into this location that has this history, and a ghost is going to talk to me as soon as I walk in the door. And that's you can are in the dark, sitting there for hours, and you may never have an interaction. I mean, there's been locations I've gone to and sit there in days and never have an interaction. So it's not guaranteed, and so many people think, oh my gosh, it's going to happen right away, because on TV they see 12 spirits or 12 spirits in 42 minutes, and that's not how it happens. So I think there's a lot of negative aspects that come from TV, and I think that there are some positive aspects. I mean, it does bring awareness. It does make people become interested in the field for those that are having things happen to them and want answers. That they know there's other people out there that are experiencing the same thing. Another issue with TV, and this is a deeper issue, I think, with society, is that people who crave fame and this quasi-fortune. Trust me, there's no fortune in reality TV. It's a job just like any other. The only difference is that you get to see us, on TV, watch us do our job. But people see fame in a very strange way, and fame affects people in a very strange way. It's not all it's cracked up to be. Just this morning, before I got on the phone with you guys, I was dealing with someone who was bashing me on social media, and they were posting a bunch of nasty stuff. And so I reached out to them and I'm like, wow, what's going on? What is this? And many times I won't do that just because it's just social media and everybody's got an opinion. But this one felt different. So I just reached out to her and I said, hey, what's the deal? So she called me a few choice words on the conversation. And I said, I told her, I don't understand why you're so upset. I don't know what I've done. Turns out, in the conversation as we continue going, she had been talking with someone who was using my photos and my face and pretending to be me, using a different name, and had actually got her to send them money to help him support his ill mother. And so she thought that I was that same person. So that's a negative aspect of fame, is that it causes people to come out of the woodwork and try to utilize your likeness for their own benefit. And that's a struggle that we all have. So those are a lot of things that go along with it. People, but for some reason, people enjoy fame. They think that it's going to be all glamorous and fun. But I mean, I have a hard time going out and having dinner with my family without someone coming up and wanting to interrupt me while I've got a piece of steak or a piece of, whatever, while I'm trying to eat. In my mouth there and want a picture, or I can't go to Walmart and buy underwear anymore because somebody takes a picture of it. So it's got its negative.
That's what I was thinking.
So,
Yeah, boxers or briefs.
Boxer briefs.
What boxer briefs? That's
Yeah. We'll take pictures later.
There you go.
Teen camp. Oh, this ain't for the teen. This is teen
I
pictures.
missed that. What'd you say?
Oh, those pictures wouldn't be for the teens. It would be for the team.
That's awesome. So I hope I answered your question, because that was actually a very, very good question. And,
Yes, it was, Georgia.
There's many facets.
You get a
to it.
B.
That's the thing. I think we could sit here and talk and debate probably for hours on just that question.
I'm sorry.
I know that I've had an ongoing conversation for, like I said, probably the past year and a half about that very topic.
The question.
Heavenly,
got?
question.
Where did you go on your first investigation, and how has your techniques changed?
That's a good one too. You get a B.
Okay.
Woo!
Yeah.
You got guys rock
Man,
today.
like that. My first investigation was actually, let me think, my first official investigation was at the Palace Theater. That was the first official investigation. On that investigation, I had a $45, $50 voice recorder I purchased at Walmart, which still to this day probably captures the best EVPs ever. I'm using a Panasonic RRDR100 now, I think is what I'm playing with. And I like it because it's voice activated and I don't have to go over as much evidence. But I was using that, and I was using a DSLR Nikon camera just to take pictures. It wasn't a night vision camera, it was just taking photos, looking for anomalies. And I felt very strange about talking and asking questions to a room that was that had no one in it except for me, or at least I thought. I also know that as I was standing there, I can remember experiencing things or seeing things in the room that I interpreted as something paranormal, but it wasn't. It was just mind matrixing and your mind playing tricks on you, because our biological makeup of our eyes are not designed to be able to see in darkness. We're not like other animals. So the rods in our eyes that pick up that light and convert it to an image that our brain sees they're not designed to see at night. So when we're trying to look at things in the dark, our brains see the darkness and try to make sense out of it. So we can get very confused that way. I also didn't research as deeply in the history. I relied upon much of the history that was face value. And so when I got in there, you're getting these different interactions or different things that don't make sense. But then as you start digging into the history or interviewing people, that's when you start learning that these responses actually do make sense. So the depth of information you have beforehand or the depth of information you receive after really helps put the story together or help you to be able to understand what you're communicating with. Every little noise and bump and knock, you don't realize how many noises there are at night or during the day when you're alone. And those are things that you really have to learn to filter through. And that comes with experience. Houses, buildings, everything makes noise. You have to remember, I think so many people forget that we're on this big ball floating in space that's moving. And on that big ball, we're on these structures of land that are moving. And there's always movement. There's always movement around us. There's movement under us. There's movement in the air. There's things that go around. There's things that tunnel in the ground. There's things that fly. There's things that crawl. And there's all kinds of other things that make noises in our environment. And all of those can be interpreted as something that's out of this world when it's actually just natural. So that's why I tell people that 98% of what you see and hear, it's going to be natural. It's just something that you just understand. And then there's that 1 to 2% that's what we're looking for. That's those supernatural phenomena that there are no explanation for. Like the woman who walks through your camera lens, your video camera, when you're the only person there, and you didn't see her, but you see her on the camera. Or that voice that has an intelligent response when you're there by yourself and no one else says anything. So those are the things that are really cool. But we forget a lot of times that everything around us is constantly moving.
Well, sir, I think your time's up.
Oh my gosh, is it really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, you have to do something for me. You have to do your famous, who are you going to call?
Oh my gosh, well how do you want that one to go this time? We're going to do it. You tell me, how do you want it to go?
Yeah, who you going to call? And then you can yell, Ghostbusters. Or whatever you want to say.
Ghostbusters. Okay.
Oh, gonna do Ghostbusters. He sounds like he came from Georgia.
Georgia.
That's where Elizabeth's from.
Oh, okay. Hey, there you go, right down the road. All right, here we let's see what we can do.
Go for it.
All right. What are you gonna call? Order.
Ah, that's a good one.